And we're live, friends.
Right wing sings a song just like she's.
But, Chris, darling, just stop. And we're live, friends.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Welcome. Oh, is this the hellscape? Is that the hellscape that has followed me from Catt and Kristen to come here? So, okay, but before we get started, with Catt and Kristen, there were times when we would start the recording, and then I would have us in my hand waiting for us to go live. And then as soon as we went live, I would have mine on full volume, so we would hear the intro to our show on the phone, and it created a hellscape, and it was really quite delicious and tasteful. But hello, friends. Welcome to Catt Chat. My name is Tom Catt, and I am joined by two people that mean the absolute world to me. We are joined by BrooklynLink and that one cosplayer who does the Disney princesses.
Hi, I'm Jimmy Sherfy. It's so nice to meet you all.
Stop it.
He's starting already.
You absolute disaster.
You get enough for names at conventions. You're at a point where you're
I'm sure.
No
we could. This could be the name droppers version of the Catt Chat episode where we just drop all of the names all of the time.
Do you remember at the Long Island Comic Book Expo where someone thought I was you?
Yes, I do, in fact. And I'm like, how could someone mistake Chris for someone like me? That doesn't make any sense, considering Chris is, shorter and not as talented as I am. Having said that, I would like to welcome you both to my show. I am so honored to have you both here. The first question that I want to start with is Cosfessions. So to those that don't know, Cosfessions is a podcast that is produced by BrooklynLink and PrincessChris. So what brought you to do that?
Well, we kind of just always were like, oh, we're like the Trixie and Katya. Like we just have like that banter. And I kind of was like, hey, Eric, I want to do a podcast. Will you do it with me? And he was like, do I have to? And I'm like,
Am I still a cosplayer? Do I really want to do this anymore?
Well, we like texting. We're like, well, and we can like invite like our friends who are cosplayers on and let them tell their story and all that, like how they got involved. And so we started. We have 6 episodes up right now, right? 6 or 7?
Yeah, something like that.
Eric is still in
top of it. I know.
And I have like 5 episodes that I'm still trying to edit, but I've been so busy with like 31 days of Tim Burton.
We have 8. We have 8 episodes up. So
8?
8.
Okay. 8 episodes, and it's been really fun because there are people that we have that I've known since I started cosplaying, and I didn't know their story. And I'm sure Eric, it's the same thing. Like he didn't really know like when some of these people started cosplaying, and it's really interesting. So there's some stories that make you go like, oh wow, that's like a really interesting way how you started. Like no one has like a generic like I wanted to do it story.
I don't think anybody has a generic they wanted to do it story. It started as like Halloween, and then it just evolved from there.
Yeah.
What name Cosfessions? I've heard the story, but I want the audience to hear it as well.
The story. That's funny. So again, yeah, Chris and I wanted to do this. Part of it was pandemic boredom, but also, we'd been wanting to do the sort of like a roundtable talk about cosplay thing, very much inspired by Catt and Kristen.
Mm-hmm.
So talking to different cosplayers about how they started, their different tricks of the trade, where they come from. And because the most interesting, I think, thing about the cosplay community is how diverse it is with, people from all walks of life that are part of it. So we obviously wanted to do that with friends of ours that we know and that we've met through cosplay. So Chris and I were going to record the first episode the first day with our friend Spencer. Hey, Peppa, shout out. Amazing. You should follow him.
I was going to say, what are his handles?
Hey, Peppa on
That's
Instagram.
right. Hey, Peppa. Yes.
And I think he has a Facebook page. I'm not sure. I'm a really great I'm really on top of it. But so we were literally like messaging each other like that day, I think, when we recorded. I was like, what should we call this thing? I have no idea. So I threw it like 3 or 4, amalgamations of the word cosplay with other words together. And I was like, Cosfessions, that sounds cheesy and bad, but
yeah.
There we go.
Sounds like Chris. It sounds exactly like Chris.
Is this just gonna be the roast of Princess Chris? I'm not turning 30 till next year.
And that's exactly, this is the, it's the pre-show.
Yeah, but it's been really fun getting to do this. And like, it's been refreshing because we get to like have hour-long conversations with people we haven't seen because there's been no conventions, and it's people that we ordinarily wouldn't really see outside of the Comic-Con.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges of doing a podcast with friends like that is trying to keep it into like a 1-hour span, because we never see anybody anymore.
Yes. When I started doing this, I wanted my time limit to be about an hour. So it would just be get all the information out as fast as possible, but have as much fun in doing it. You guys have the unfortunate disadvantage of editing, which here it's, live, uncut, and raw, the way Chris likes it. With that said, it's so fun catching him off guard, because usually he's the one catching me off guard.
Guys, I'm on Match.com, so
but having said that, it's nice. It's a nice feeling to sort of have this, to still have a creative outlet, even though you're not cosplaying, but you're still having a conversation with people that, you would see every time you go to these events.
Right.
Yeah. I think that, the cosplay world, a lot of people just think it's just the people that, wear costumes, but, we're trying to expand more with like, makers of the costumes. We just had our friend Julia on, who does mostly photography. It is an entire, essentially it is almost like the film world. You have producers and directors, and you have I'll consider the cosplayers like the actors, the people that you see more up front, but like, there are directors that get more spotlighted, costume designers that get spotlighted. And yes. I think that, it's really interesting to hear what everyone does and like how they get, like, listening to Julia talk about photography was how she started. Like, that was kind of fascinating, because I don't know how someone, and I guess maybe because that's my not able to understand how someone would be like, I want to take pictures of people in costumes. As opposed to like someone be like, I want to make this costume.
That's fair. I actually, it's hysterical that we talk about Julia. I was thinking of hitting her up to have her on the show as well. But yeah, we'll put a pin in that for a moment. She's
a great guest.
Oh, she's fabulous. We had her on. She was one of our first guests after BrooklynLink on Catt and Kristen. But yeah, what made you guys get into cosplay in the first place?
Eric,
I'll start. How did I always forget. I told the story like a billion times, I forget. So one of the first jobs I ever got was working at Joann's. I know Tom is familiar. They shoved me in the fabric department, and little me never seen a bolt of fabric or used a needle and thread or seen a sewing machine in person, because we just weren't that type of family. So I had no idea what I was doing. So basically, to keep my job and to not get yelled at as much from old ladies buying quilting fabric, I learned about fabric, and I learned sewing from the Husqvarna ladies that were there selling sewing machines, just learning and watching. And actually, they used to let me do visual merchandising back when Joann's had a budget for that a billion years ago.
They do now, from what I understand.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, I mean, they definitely shut that down, because I think they didn't want to waste fabric and stuff. But what they would let me do is pin drape fabric onto mannequins, and, I'd come up with some cool looking costumes. I did some little Gautier looking looks. And it was kind of sad, because a lot of people come in like, I love this fabric, I love this design, where's the pattern for this? I'm like, I just pinned this on here. I have no idea. I don't know how you would make this. No, I never did a comb bra. I had to keep it, like Joann's friendly, but I did like a lot of like, cross designs and cutouts and stuff that were very Fifth Element-y. Anyway.
Oh, Gautier.
long story long, I got into sewing and I started making Halloween costumes. And then I started following a couple. I used to go to conventions on the West Coast when I lived in Las Vegas. We used to go to San Diego Comic-Con before cosplay became this huge, ridiculous thing. But I would see people there in these beautiful, amazing costumes, especially in California where people had more material and the movie industry is out there. And at San Diego Comic-Con, which is like, huge.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd see all those things, all those costumes and stuff. And so I got into it. I was like, maybe I could do this one day. And I followed this prominent Zelda cosplayer who did Link. She's amazing. And she would get like hired for Nintendo events and stuff. So, I mean, she was legit. And she inspired me to make my first costume, which was my Twilight Princess Link, which I still wear, obviously, all the time. That was about 6 years ago. And yeah, so I've been doing it since. What about you, Chris?
Well, what for me was I actually went to college for costume design. I went to Marymount, and right when I left college, after I graduated, I went straight to work in film and television, and I worked in wardrobe. Now I'm looking back, I'm like, I don't know if that was like the best decision I made because of everything going on in the world right now, because, all production shut down. But what happened was, my friend Jessica Plasmid Pinup on Instagram and her sister Rachel K Cosplay on Instagram. It was New York Comic Con 2014. This would have been my second Comic Con. And they said that they're doing Anna and Elsa from Frozen. This was like the year the Frozen blew up. And I kind of basically invited myself in. I was like, I want to do it. And this is
you pushy person who doesn't take no for an answer. I find that hard to believe.
Listen, I've grown older. And
haven't we all?
My first
as we all I'm so sorry, Chris. Keep on going.
It was so nice. Thank you for having me. So basically, what happened was I was Hans from Frozen, and that was like my first like real Disney cosplay that wasn't Andy from Toy Story. And then what happened was I knew what cosplay was. Like I followed Tracy Hines. Essentially my entire cosplay career is me just trying to be Tracy Hines. Like if she's like Madonna, I'm Michelle Visage. That's how I look at it. Like and
let's just say you a cease and desist.
You know what? She has not put out a cease and desist yet. But no, I've met her.
So what you're telling me is that your brand is second banana to RuPaul. By RuPaul, I mean BrooklynLink.
Well, Eric and I actually met 5 years ago at a mutual friend's apartment who I don't know if they still cosplay anymore, but it was like a group of cosplay people. And then we got together for Anime Next. Was at the convention. It was an anime convention.
Yeah.
And we did the Super Mario group, and then he and I clicked on our love of Gem and the Holograms, how we both wanted to do Gem and Pizzazz. And then that was the start. And then I started just bugging him. I'm like, I want to do this gender bend duo. I want to do this gender bend duo. And now it's like a running gag. And actually on the podcast, what I do now is I message the person that we're going to interview, and I was like, hey, I need you to come up with a gender bend duo for Eric and I that you would like to see us do, so you can say it on the podcast, just purely for embarrassment for Eric, because it's like that's the running joke, because whenever I say I want to do something, people will message me like, so is Eric going to be this person? Like when I do Andy I started doing Andy Cohen impersonations, everyone was like, so is Eric going to be Anderson Cooper? I'm like, he will not do it, but I will continue to annoy him about that until I die, because I'm going to die before he does. So, just get ready for that.
Such a
It'll be sooner than you think, Chris.
Oh my God.
Oh, but back to I worked across the street from TDF, the costume collection, and they used to have like a free rack where you could just take wherever you want, and they had a bunch of blazers. And this is actually how I got started making my blazers. There were a bunch, and I was like, I'm taking them because I'm broke and I like suit jackets. But then when I looked at them, there was like bleach stains or like buttons missing. So then I just painted them to look like my favorite Disney things. And that's kind of like how I gained track into what I do.
Yeah, you were very well known for a long period of time for having like various blazers, and then you started putting wigs on, and then it was just, well, no, I think you started coloring your hair, and then you graduated into wigs.
Well, actually, so when I started like fully cosplaying, so let's see, when Cinderella came out, the new Cinderella, that the day I saw it, I cried. I was like, I'm obsessed with this movie. I fell in love with the fairy tale all over again in a new way. Like Cinderella is like, I think we all have like that one character. Like for Eric, it's Link. For you, it's Ursula and B. Arthur. Like Cinderella is my character. And I literally took whatever I had in my closet. I spray painted these ugly loafers silver, and I bought blonde hairspray and I did spray it. I did start buying wigs though, because color stuff for your hair is really damaging. And I already like had highlighted hair. Like the first time I went out as Elsa, my actual hair was dyed deep purple, and I was spraying it white and put white gel in it just to like cover it all up. It was a mess. And they're just easier. It's like you just throw it on and you're like, bye.
As a bold person can confirm, it is much easier to just it's easier just to slap a wig on your head.
Yeah.
So you guys have been cosplaying for a collective 10 years approximately, from what I'm understanding. Yes, a little bit more than 10 years?
Technically for me, it's 6 years.
All right, so then 12 years between the two of you. So in that period of time, what do you think has been the reason you keep on going back? Like, why do you continue to cosplay?
I think for me, there's two reasons. One's more shallow than the other. One is attention. I always loved attention.
Chris, shallow, how groundbreaking.
Yeah. No, well, here's the thing. I'm a Scorpio with a Leo moon and Leo rising, so that's like very much in my energy. But I do love like seeing people's reactions to things I do, and like what?
Yes, Eric was in fact lowering his camera to basically like say, I don't know this person. I don't know what I'm doing here.
I'm sure there's like times where someone's like, is he with you? And he's like, I love like people's reactions to what I do, because I think I do things that nobody's just like thinking about every day. Like, what does male Cinderella look like? And then it's like seeing that, and people like, it's that I kind of just feel seen and appreciated, and that my ego. But the other thing is I really love creatively challenging myself. I love designing, and I love princesses, and I love characters like that. So I love like updating things and challenge. Like I have updated Cinderella like 5 fucking times. I'm about to update Elsa again for like the 4th time. And it's always like, you know, like as Walt Disney said, keep moving forward and trying to like, I don't know, reach nirvana. There's only one Disney princess that I have that I feel like I've reached nirvana. And so it's, you know, you just want to always challenge yourself.
That is very true. Eric, why do you keep on coming back?
Well, first, I just want to say too, there's nothing wrong with wanting attention in cosplay. Like I see.
Oh God, no! I will be the. It is an attention-seeking hobby.
Yeah, well, and I see
or career for some people, career that some people can make it definitely.
Well, and you know, you guys have seen comments on social media of like, oh, she's just doing this for attention. She doesn't like the blah blah blah. I mean, that's gatekeeping, whatever, and I don't want to get into all that. Yeah. But I want to say, there's nothing wrong with doing cosplay for attention. There's nothing wrong with wanting recognition for your hard work that you've made. You know, there's nothing wrong at all. I mean, there's worse things you could do for attention, for sure. But a creative outlet, you should do cosplay for yourself, and you should want to show it off to people. But it's not about, you know, it's not about what other people think of it. Really, you know, the attention is nice for sure, and it's nice to be recognized for that. So. On the other hand, so for me, the reason I keep going back is literally like friends. Like I just love seeing friends. I love making friends at conventions. I love cosplaying with friends. I like talking to people about the things that we have in common, like the geek things we have in common. All of the friends I've made because I've dressed up as Link at conventions is like, it's crazy. You know, just for an example, I'm friends with you two, and you're two of my favorite people in the entire world because of cosplay. So, you know, it just, you know, and it's not like I'm not a huge extroverted person. I don't need a lot of friends. And it's hard for me to make close connections with people, but I have through cosplay, and I was never planning to do that. And, you know, it's just with people I click that, you know, it just keeps me coming back. Like, and it's just like, it's challenging creatively to make something and to put an outfit together. And especially for me, if it's something that's like a semi-original design, I always sketch it out first. And it's fun for me to put together, whether I'm buying all the pieces for it or hand dyeing things or making things, you know, sewing things together or whatever. And there's things that I just like put together off Amazon, but it's something that I put creative energy into, and I just love doing that. I don't know.
Yeah.
No. You give me this long, beautiful, beautiful essay on why you keep coming back, and then you say, I don't know. I love that. I love that so much.
Well, because I could quit tomorrow. Who knows? I could be sick of this.
No,
it's fine.
I say Eric has threatened me that he was going to quit. Eric and I have been friends for over 5 years now, and in that 5 years, I think maybe 12 to 14 times he's like, I don't know, I think I'm just gonna quit. I'm like, but we haven't done the Frozen 2 costumes together yet.
Yeah, no, realistically, I'll do this until it's fun, and it hasn't stopped being fun yet. There are times when after a convention I'm so drained, or, you know, I've put so much energy into making something. I know none of what I, you know, present is probably looks like I've put tons of hours into it. But some of the stuff I have, and I'm just like, I don't want to see that costume ever again. And like, I'm kind of like regretful of the time that I kind of wasted on it. I'm trying not to do projects like that anymore, but
is there a costume you have that you feel that way about, that you want to?
I'm not going to name specifics, but yes.
Is it one that I know about?
I mean,
is it one that you've done with Chris specifically?
No, of course not. Most of the stuff I've done with Chris are his costumes that I'm borrowing.
That's true, yeah.
So, which I love. I mean, if I love anything I don't have to make.
That's so kind of you to say that you, Eric, thin, svelte Eric, can fit in Chris's tents of costumes.
I don't think it's been tens. I think whatever I said.
Tents. It was a fat joke. I'm just being a bitch, Chris.
I was like, oh, well, no, because I gained 25 pounds since quarantine, so I'm like, do I look
So have I. It's just, it's part and parcel of the game.
And Eric looks exactly the same, except he has a goatee now.
No, my weight goes up and down. It's really annoying. But whatever.
We love a roller coaster.
For cosplay, it is annoying. I had to put on my Sleeping Beauty costume, and I literally looked like a stuffed sausage. I was like, oh no.
My personal favorite is when I periodically get into my Arkham City Catwoman costume, because that will just.
Is that the one you did together?
That was the one that you and I did together. Yes.
Fun times, good times.
And I do miss my Catwoman costume. Like I love getting into a periodic, just to be like, I can still fit in it. There's no popped seams. God bless.
That costume for me is my squall. Like the tight leather pants that are with that squall, and the fact that it's very like midriff belly like centric, because it's all black except for the white area is like my waist. So that's like the litmus test of it. Am I in shape right now enough to do this costume? Because I don't fit in that costume when I'm like at my higher, you know, weight. So it kind of that's the one I always gauge. But
if I commit to people, I tell them my measurements wrong. I tell them like a little bit bigger than I actually am, because I'm like, some shit's gonna happen. I already know it. And then I get it. And I'm like, yeah, some shit's gonna happen.
Yeah, well, that's a good cosplay tip. Okay,
that is a great cosplay tip.
Well, whether you sew or not, too, if you're going to get something custom made, and you know that, you know, sometimes your weight can be on like a higher spectrum, try to do that higher spectrum, because if you get something that's too small, it's a hell of a lot harder to fix than something that is a little too bulky, and you can like, you know, even if you can't fix it yourself, you don't know how to sew, you can take it to a tailor who can probably bring it in for you. It's a lot easier than trying to bring something out. So cosplay tip for anybody.
Also, if you are going to go to a tailor, make sure that when they do exactly what you ask them to do, like, I don't know, put in a double stitch into an entire Power Rangers suit so that nothing rips if you're around the Comic-Con and you end up doing a group, and the one place that a hole happens is the stupidest place. You can get a blank hole. Do I have to say it?
Yes, you do.
Asshole. I had a seam tear, and it happened right at my ass.
Cosplay malfunctions.
Of all places, I was like,
only you. This would happen to Chris.
I wore that costume once too, and I don't have that costume anymore, and it cost me a lot of money. And so that's why I don't do superheroes. In case people are asking, like, I'm like, no. Are you ever gonna do I don't know, what's a superhero? Mrs. Incredible?
Why wouldn't now, come now, really? Why wouldn't you do Elastigirl?
Because if I'm gonna do a gender bend of anybody from The Incredibles, it's Edna Mode.
I could also see you as Violet.
You know, I almost did Violet, and then I was like, nah, son. I don't know. I don't like The Incredibles so much, and my cousin works at Pixar. I don't know.
Just because a person works someplace doesn't mean you have to like the material.
No, I mean, like, and I'll tell him, like, honestly, like, how I feel about every movie he works on, and I told him, I'm like, out of all the ones he worked on, I was like, honestly, the only one that blew me away that made me emotional was when you worked on Coco. All the others were just sequels. He worked on Onward too, and I did like that one.
Onward was a very good movie. Shout out to Canvas Cosplay, Treats Cosplay, and Tranquil Ashes for the fabulous job they did with Mayron.
Oh yeah,
everyone check that out, please.
Yes, please and thank you. Just go and look at they worked so hard on it, all three of them.
Canvas Cosplay, I tell you, he always impresses me.
Like, he's such a beautiful soul. Such a beautiful, beautiful soul. Dirty as all get out, but a beautiful, beautiful soul.
I want to cosplay with him, but I don't know what we would do together.
You got time to think about it.
There's conventions happening tomorrow.
I know. Apparently, there's like some like smaller conventions happening. I saw pictures. Austin St. John was at something with a mask on and everything. I'm like where are these happening?
To be fair, that's a paid gig for him.
In places where they shouldn't be happening.
Well, I know New Zealand's been like pretty good, and there was a convention that just happened in New Zealand. I saw
outside of the United States. I can definitely say there are countries that have gotten this whole thing taken care of, where they can start opening up to the public more and more frequently, and God bless them for it. But here in the States, I genuinely do not see any conventions happening for at least another maybe tops 10 months.
Oh, definitely not. Like, we talk about this on our podcast. I think because we ask people like what their favorite cons are a lot, and KatsuCon comes up all the time because we all love KatsuCon, and we're just kind of like, are we going to all accept the fact that there's not going to be a KatsuCon in 2021 because they haven't said anything yet?
It's one of those like unspoken truths where it's like, yes, we know it's not happening, but we're holding out hope. Because that's all we have left to cling to.
Honestly, yeah. I mean, if anything, like if Katsu like even moves to like be like in September of 2021, which that probably is not even going to happen either. D23, which usually happens in the summer 2021, moved to 2022, and I was like, honestly, that's the smartest thing Disney.
That is the smartest thing Disney has ever done with their conventions. I agree.
No, Disney just for the year 2020 in general, that's the smartest thing they've done. They've made lot of choices this year that I'll always love you, Disney. I have a tattoo of Ariel, but like, you know, you've made some choices.
We're not going to talk about the Disney Villains Masquerade dolls. We will move on from them. Moving forward, Chris. No more.
I wasn't even thinking about that one, but now
so confusing. Anyway, if anybody has any questions too, by the way, ask away. We'll answer them.
I was going to say, please feel free to ask any questions. I was actually going to say, we're all witches of a certain age. How do we feel about there being more and more queerness and more gender expression being brought into the fold? I mean, I do drag, I do gender bend. Eric, I also know that you do drag and you gender bend. And Chris, I know that you your gender bent. So what are your thoughts on it? Talk to me.
I think it's lovely. I think that people are being true to who they are, and in a way that I even think like 10 years ago, like the progress that's happened in the last 10 years is very comforting, scary a little bit, because there were things that I didn't understand 10 years ago that now I'm like, I was like, I don't know if 10 years ago, I wouldn't tell you if I was able to understand, but now I think that,
I feel like you, Chris, are not somebody who lives in ignorance. You're not the type of person that will be like, oh, I don't understand that, so I must hate it. No, if you don't understand something, go and educate yourself to it.
Oh,
and it definitely takes time, especially if you yourself are experiencing if you were experiencing it.
Yeah, thank God I went to a liberal arts college, because that really opened my eyes to, like, that was the first time I heard of someone being non-binary. That was the first time was it the first time I met people who are trans? Because I grew up in a very conservative Long Island town, and it was like taboo if you were gay, kind of. It was like a thing, and I didn't come out until after my senior prom, the first time I ever got drunk. That was like when I came out, because I literally been scared to, because of what the world of Northport was like. And now I think it's like the progression. We still have a lot of things to get through, but like I can't be mad at how much progress has been made in the last 10 years, to be quite honest.
Now, first, I also want to preface this by saying we are 3 white individuals, so we cannot speak on the queer person of color dynamic. We can only speak on the white queerness that we all associate ourselves with.
Yeah.
We say that as people who are very supportive of the people of color. We are very supportive of our black and brown brothers and sisters, and we as minorities, we are very supportive of each other, and it's very important that we are very supportive of each other.
We have to,
but again,
we have to have each other.
We can only speak on the white queer experience.
Yeah.
Yep.
Eric, what are your thoughts, darling?
So it's funny. I don't know. For some reason, when Chris said that the first time he met a trans person was, XYZ, it's funny because I've had people tell me, oh, you're the first gay person I've ever met, blah, blah, blah. And all I can think is, no, I'm not. I promise you I'm not. You know what I mean? Like, just because someone didn't say, hey, I'm gay, it doesn't mean that you know everybody's business. And so, like, you could have met someone who was trans 20 years ago, 10 years ago, and not even known it. And this is not a dig toward Chris. It's just funny that everybody's more comfortable saying those things and living those truths, and it being no big deal for a lot of people now. And
yes,
we've come a long way from in that regard.
I think what I meant by that was that was the first time I met someone who was openly trans.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And that's
new to me.
That was definitely taboo, like our trans brothers and sisters have been mistreated and are still very much mistreated, but things have gotten much better. People are able to say that openly and not get the disgusting questions and the looks and the violence as much. And so that's amazing. Again, being that I'm a cis male, I only know so much about this. I will say, so my identity with the queer community has always been complicated. First of all, I don't like the word queer, and I've had to really deal with that.
Really? I never knew that.
So it's funny. I don't like talking about this because, it's just the catch-all word that people use, and because it's more inclusive, that makes it a good thing. But I despise that word. It's always been negative to me. It's always been used in a negative way. So when it became
that's very fair.
It's still hard for me to say, but anyway, the queer community to me has always been sort of outside of my comfort zone, which is also maybe a little shocking to some people. And, back when I was sort of coming out and being more open toward people, I was part of a LGBT group that did counseling. And so I eventually became a queer youth counselor in my younger days. And it was interesting trying to talk to younger people about being gay because it was their entire identity. You know, it was, especially if you're going to like an LGBT, you know, community center to try to find yourself, it's because you've been beaten by the world and labeled as gay and all these things. And so part of that is like trying to make people proud of who they are, yes, and accept who they are, but also to like, I always wanted to bring them a step away from that and be like, this is not your entire identity unless you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be, you know? And so when I would have gay friends and queer friends and, you know, sexual friends who had like homosexual tendencies and things like that, it was always weird to me because they were always very sexual and I never fit in with that. And there's like a lot of things about the queer community that I just really don't fit in with because I was always weird more than I was gay. You know, I was always an outsider, you know, an outcast. I was always that geek in the corner who didn't have any friends, which a lot of us cosplayers really relate to. And that's why I'm bringing that up, because when I found cosplay, I found out that I fit in more with that community than any other community that I've, you know, been kind of pigeonholed to or, you know, sought comfort in, you know. And of course, I have plenty of gay friends. I have plenty of friends in the queer community and I love them. And I dip my toe into different, you know, areas of that life. But for the most part, you know, it's just a little part of who I am. And I hate that the world still is so uncomfortable with queer identity. And, you know, we've made strides and I'm glad it's getting better. But the cosplay community, I think, is more welcoming, and that just, it's really refreshing to me.
Definitely. I think I'm closer with like a lot of my friends who identify as gay men, I've met through cosplay. Like even more than like when I went to Marymount or when I did theater or like even just going out like in nightlife. Like I don't really meet a lot of people out there, but it was the first time I felt like I had like, I don't want to say a core group of guy friends because I don't really have that, but like a brotherhood maybe? Is that what I'm looking for? Like a sorority fraternity. Sorry. Like a sorority.
A collection of homosexuals.
For my group D23 for Ralph Breaks the Internet, I mean, maybe I should not have said this, but it was fun for me at the time. I was like, where's this group of a bunch of homosexuals? Because then I realized that a lot of them were not homosexual. I'm like, oops. But it was just like a silly little thing. And then I was like, you know what? This is kind of awesome. It's like all these guys with the same interests, and we're all representing different identities. And it was the first time I felt like I had like a core group of like guy buddies, because I didn't really have that growing up. I had like one guy friend growing up.
Yeah. Alan, my darling Alan, actually, you guys know who Alan is.
Yes, we love Alan.
He says, I've never liked queer either as a word, because it was always used in such a negative way towards him as well. Oh my goodness, there are comments, friends. There are a lot of comments.
We have sparked a discussion.
Do any of them want my Match.com information?
No, they don't, darling. I don't think anybody does.
No.
I am just so mean to you, but this is what Eric wanted.
Well, you know how
I'm giving the people what they want.
It's all in love. It's all in fun.
Can I tell my meeting Tom story while he looks at the comments?
No, because I was actually going to say, can we talk about how hypocritical and overly superficial white gays are? And
yes, me.
That's Jesus Christ!
Please. No, but
while we're here splitting hairs.
I actually met Tom at Anime Next as well. The next year, he literally was like, "Chris," and we like hugged, and then I was like, "Do I know you?" Do you remember that? I was like,
I have a vague recollection. I think you were in Bell, or
Bell. Yeah,
I believe you were in Bell at that time.
Yeah, I miss being Belle. I don't have any Belle costumes right now.
Tragically, sorry, I don't know what to tell you.
No, I still...
hilariously enough, I want to do Beast at some point. And I want to do it like with the cape and the hairy chest and like fur bits and pieces here and there. Yeah, I would. I want to do that very, very badly.
What's up, Diggity?
Sir, calm yourself.
No, because that's as Belle. Like when I do Belle, like because I love taking pictures. A lot of the guys that I use for my princes are like my friends, and people message me being like, "So is this John guy your boyfriend?" I'm like, no, he's straight, you idiot. And then and I really want to do like a real Beauty and the Beast with me as Belle because that's my favorite movie. And like I want to do that. Like I want to rent out a ballroom and take pictures dancing with a beast. I have dreams.
Well, same. No, it's hysterical that we talk about Beauty and the Beast because this past weekend I was dog sitting, and my cousins, bless their loving hearts, they have Disney Plus, and I was like, you know what? Let's watch Beauty and the Beast. Worst idea ever, because at the end of it, I was like, I am crying buckets. Why did I do this to myself? I am my own worst enemy. But it's such a good movie. And then of course I watched Howard afterwards, and I'm like, oh, this was just not the right idea for me.
And I talk about Howard for a minute.
We can talk about Howard for hours on end. I adore the man. I absolutely love and worship him.
Did you see my lip sync to his demo of Part of Your World?
I have not.
Okay, so I did.
I love myself, you see.
Yeah. It was so that entire documentary had me sobbing, and it made me like have this weird like spiritual connection because he died the year I was born.
Yep.
And my two favorite Disney princesses, Ariel and Belle. My favorite prince is Aladdin. So I have like that like. And I was like,
you were also kind of a 90s baby, so you have that. You were still a 90s baby. Like let's not split hairs here. Let's not mince words.
But take away age from anybody. Like those three and The Lion King, those four movies to me are still out of like Disney animation. Those are the four best ones. Like if you're comparing it to, you know, I still think that Snow White is just absolutely amazing. It's one of my favorite. Like, I don't know if you can see my little Snow White stuff right there.
It's so timeless. It's so timeless.
And well, like also it kind of sucks because a lot of people like. So my friend's a teacher. My friend Kira, she's teaching, and she was like doing something with her students, and she's like, Chris, they all know who Moana is, but none of them knew who Peter Pan was, and she lives in Orlando. And I was like, how the do they not know who Peter Pan? I was like blown away, and they're like, well, it's an older movie. I'm like, that's no excuse because Peter Pan was an old movie even when we were kids. You know, I was like, how do you not know? And I mean,
well, now hold on. There are a lot of parents out there that raise their children differently. There are some that raise their kids on the actual fairy tales. There are some that raise them on Disney. There are some that don't raise them with fairy tales at all. It depends heavily on the parents. It depends on what they want their children to be influenced by, more or less.
My only thing I could think of is maybe the parents now, because people are much more woke now than they were in the 90s. Is that they don't want to expose their children to racial stereotypes, and Peter Pan is with that.
That is definitely a plausible answer, especially if they themselves have witnessed what made the red man red.
So I watched it again when I was like in high school. I kind of was like, I love this movie, and then that scene came on, and I was like, oh.
Yeah,
movie, but it's like that entire scene. I'm like,
it's one of those things where, and I was watching Lady and the Tramp last night, and I was like, oh yeah, these stereotypes are just awful. Thank God they didn't put Song of the South on here because that would get taken down real quick.
Here's the thing. Here's my thing with Disney.
Oh Jesus.
Okay. No, so when I was in college,
I'm so sorry, Eric. I got him on Disney. We're not. This is the train that we're on.
It was inevitable.
Train to Busan.
Inevitable.
So okay, here's my thing. Was Disney racist? Oh, absolutely. And I did a report on Disney. I was in a communications class, and we had to talk about someone who like was very influential media. So like people talked about Barbara Walters, people talked about Hugh Hefner, and of course I chose Walt Disney because he revolutionized animation and like made his own film studio basically an entire industry. And so one of the questions I got after was literally like, well, how do you feel about the fact that he hated Jewish people and he was racist? And I was like, okay, like obviously it's bad. And I was like, but he was also born in the South in 1901 and he died in 1966. Chill. If he had his values now, he obviously be canceled. J.K. Rowling. So basically, I was just like, I'm not going to defend racism, but like the guy was old and he's dead. And now those movies, I think that we need to educate kids and be like, before showing them, just be like, look, this was portrayed in a way that's supposed to be funny, but now this is like a negative thing. Understand that this is a negative thing. Because if you like leave them confused about it, they're going to get the wrong idea. And, you know, you have to really teach people what was bad. This was bad that this happened, but you have to like, you know, just understand it. I think that banning things like that, like the fact that like I never saw Song of the South and it's because of how terrible it is in terms of...
You can find it on YouTube.
Yeah, but then I was like watching reviews and people were like, take away the racism of it, it's actually a boring movie. Like that's what like most of the reviews said. So I was like, well, if it's not even entertaining, then why do I want to like? I like the song Zippity Doo Dah. That's about it. It's a great.
Moving from the train to Disney. Karen actually asked a very good question. How do you feel about those using the LGBTQ plus community for clout? How would you want to go about it for such people, cosplayers doing this? I feel like what she means by that is basically just that, calling themselves gay or bi or pan or demi without any type of I guess it's really one of those interesting questions. Like they will call themselves that, but they will not do anything pertaining to what makes that sexuality that.
Yeah, very much like a Katy Perry.
Sure.
Yeah.
Would you mind? I hate that I'm going to ask this, but would you mind expanding on that?
So I have a lot of issues with Katy Perry. I used to love Katy Perry, but then as I got older, I kind of was like, oh, you know, she's very problematic, very much panders to the gay community without, I think, really understanding the struggles of the gay. I mean, I think maybe she does try, but she doesn't. She like uses her privilege to talk about it, and like songs like "I Kissed a Girl" and "You're So Gay, You Don't Even Like Boys." I think that she panders for shock value or like to get people talking. Kind of
like the wig scandal.
Like the which one?
The wig scandal.
When she was like on American Idol, that whole thing. I mean, she's problematic in general, and her comments about Britney Spears and mental health are more of my issue with her. But basically, you know, she kind of pandered to the gay community, being like, I don't want to. Maybe like she was trying to be Madonna, but no one can be Madonna in that sense, and that she was using people's identities to make her money. And unfortunately, I have seen, not even just in the cosplay community, but people on Instagram and everything, like these like hot guys that like kind of gay bait, right? It's called gay bait.
Queer, oh, thank God we mentioned that. That is, I think, what I feel this question is pertaining to. How do you both feel about queer baiting and gay baiting?
Unless if you're making money, then good for you, but otherwise you're a dick.
I mean, it's the gay for pay question. Like, how do you feel about certain, you know, people doing gay stuff for money? Especially if they themselves don't identify as, or instead of saying identify as, they don't support other queer individuals. And I'm sorry that is the Pee-wee Playhouse word of the day, but that is the term that we'll be using. I thank you. Eric, thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts about this, and it's funny because I know we're coming at it from a perspective of this is kind of messed up for them to do. My take on it is actually a little bit more kind in the fact that if you're doing something that's like outwardly displaying gayness and, you know, kissing, you know, a guy kissing another man, or, you know what I'm just like, you know, support for gay people, whatever your intentions are, you're going to piss someone off. So to me, there's value in that. Mm-hmm. To me, whether you're genuinely supporting something or not, the fact that you're trying to normalize gay things, there is merit to that. There is, I don't like using this term because it's not really for this, but it's a little bit like cultural appropriation. What it is,
I will allow that. Yes,
you're using queer imagery, things that are things that have been stigmatized, and using a community that has been what's that word I'm looking for? I don't know, stigmatized, sure. But you're using people who don't have 100% the rights and the acceptance of the rest of the world, the rest of the cis world, to sell things and for shock value, whatever you're doing. The problem comes when you're not giving back to that community, or you're using that voice and silencing other voices. So the best example I can think of is when Taylor Swift did that video with all of the gay people in it. Now, my visceral first reaction was, Taylor Swift, you are not a lesbian. You are not a gay person. You are not a spokesperson. You are not a person who is qualified to have your voice be heard as a defense of gay life at all.
Yeah.
But also, the reason I felt that way in my defense is that it was before she had gotten political. It's before she would take a stance for gay people that was controversial on any social media. Now she's like, fuck Trump.
I was going to say, in defense,
now she's a little better.
In defense of Taylor Swift, there were a lot of people that were just like, well, what does Taylor Swift feel about this? And Taylor Swift was like, you really want my opinion?
Right.
And I don't understand the pressure that she was put under to become political.
That's everybody. I mean, it's everybody nowadays. You have,
like,
you have a voice.
As soon as she started saying, oh, well, the hell with Trump, this and that, everyone was just like, oh, all right, well, we don't want to hear her. And I'm like, but you just wanted her to become political, and now I see where you're going. I see you.
And that's another thing I wanted to say. Again, I'm not a huge Taylor Swift fan at all, but the fact that she immediately alienated probably half this country by just taking a stance, kudos to her for that, honestly, because she's standing on the right side of history. I don't care how you feel about it.
Correct.
That's how I feel about it. Also, going back to that video that she made specifically, again, my visceral reaction was like, excuse me? Not to mention the lyrics of that song are about how it's just not cool to be anti-gay, and you should be better, and whatever the lyrics are. It's very dismissive almost.
Yes.
But here's the thing. She hired all those people to do that gig. She hired RuPaul. She hired all these drag queens. She treated them amazingly. She paid them. And then she took money from that song that she made and put it back to LGBT causes, which that's the only thing I care about. If you were going to use your voice as a spokesperson for something that you don't belong to, at least give it to the communities that are marginalized. That's the word I couldn't think of earlier. The marginalized communities that you are trying to profit off of. Sure, make your money off of it, but if you're not giving something back, fuck off. You don't belong there. That's not yours.
There's just, with her, I just feel like there's a lot of, even in doing all that, there's just some phoniness, and that's why I've always had even since the beginning of her career, I've always had issues with Taylor Swift. One of the things with that video that I really hated was, this is gonna sound weird, but her portrayal of homophobia was very middle school stereotype.
Right, it's dismissive.
And she doesn't understand that homophobia doesn't have a costume, and I think that's what she did. She's like, oh, if you're a redneck, you must be a homophobe. And it's I'm sorry, have you seen Joe Exotic? So it was just one of those things where it's I think there was a better way for you to reach your audience to teach about homophobia than the way you did it. And that's just how I feel. I think that, and also I think that part of the reason she did it, I mean, I don't think she's a homophobe at all, but I think a lot of it was her trying to relate to people, and not in a way that someone like Madonna, how many times I've mentioned Madonna already?
About 3-4 times.
Fair. But, I think that
Proceed, Captain. Proceed.
Okay. No, I think that, because Taylor Swift was in the public eye for as long as she was, and she didn't start voicing these opinions until, 12 years into her career? Or, she was around for, 15 years or something? That was one of my light issues. And that's why I'm I don't know how much I believe her as an ally, as opposed to someone like Madonna and Gaga, whose entire careers have been vocal about how they feel about the LGBTQ community.
Mm-hmm.
And are they pandering a little bit? Sure, but you hear Madonna's stories about how she lost so many friends to the AIDS pandemic and epidemic, that you believe her more to be a true ally. And Taylor Swift, I still have issues with believing it.
Right. Well, and to be fair too, again, I'm not that I think that she needs to be defended or anything, but it's a pop brand. She's not just a person. Everything that's presented, everything that she does, like Katy Perry, is a product. So maybe the way she presented it is immature and not serious the way we wish it would have been, but it might have been good for some Americans to see it presented that way. It might have changed some minds. We were not the market necessarily.
No,
you know what I mean?
I think it
sucks when you're not the market and you're the product that's being sold as an LGBT person. And yes, that's like I said, that was my visceral reaction.
And I think that was my problem with it too.
Yeah.
Because it's again, it did feel very much like you're trying to teach 10-year-olds about homophobia.
Would you say it almost felt forced?
Yes. I think that I think also my thing when you were talking about that fact that she did hire RuPaul and all the queens and the Queer Eye people and Ellen was in it and Jessie Tyler Ferguson was in it, all that was just so much, and it kind of was it to me it was very much hey, look, I got this famous gay person, I got that famous gay person, all these famous gay people I was able to hire for this. That felt a little to me a great example of showing gay people is the beautiful music video by Christina Aguilera, where it was a little controversial and it wasn't it wasn't in your face, and it was just at the time people were struggling with their sexuality, in the early to that. Remember how it was still a big thing if a celebrity came out as gay, and it was people were struggling so hard. I mean, obviously people are still struggling now, but I think that there's so much more queer representation in media, and that
coming out has evolved in the last 30 to 40 years.
Yeah.
Look at I say this. Look at the difference in coming out between Liberace and Rock Hudson, and then compare that to Adam Lambert, and compare that to George Michael, and compare that to Ellen Page, and compare that to Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah.
These were all people at different generations and different times who came out and were met with very different responses.
Absolutely. George Michael literally in handcuffs because of who he was. That's how he had to come out, which is terrible, but he owned up to it and he talked about it after. And he's like, look, this is me. Hi, George. Sorry. It's Madonna, George Michael.
Madonna, George Michael. I mean, I'm surprised I don't have a B. Arthur album behind me. We are starting to wind down. I want us to talk about the elephant in the room.
Excuse me.
Me?
Well, you know something, you beat me to it. Chris, darling, Alan wants to know. He actually created a hashtag, make Chris watch Hocus Pocus 2K20. And I don't know if Alan actually saw the video that you posted. I was watching it and I was just like, this sly son of a bitch.
The one I tagged you in on my Instagram story?
Yes, the one that you tagged us in. And I was listening to it and I'm like, all right, I'll give it to him. I'll give it to him. I'll allow the argument. It's fine. I don't care. As a matter of fact, one of my a drag friend of mine posted has Hocus Pocus gotten a bit much lately? And I'm like, it kinda has. And the reason I say that is it's become so commercialized. Don't get me wrong. I am very happy that there is merchandise. I am very happy that Hocus Pocus is literally getting a second wind. I'm happy about it. But there's so much commercialization to it. And it's the same thing with the Golden Girls. Y'all know I love the Golden Girls. Y'all know I love B. Arthur. But there's too much. Yeah. When I started seeing Chia Pets of the Golden Girls, I'm like, what, have we peaked? Have we peaked?
It's Creek. Because I was watching Schitt's Creek when no one was watching it. And I would try to.
I definitely see that happening with Schitt's Creek in like another 10 to 15 years. I definitely see that happening. There's going to be a lot of like Moira and David costumes, and I just see it happening. I see. Chris, who gives a flying fig if you were the first?
I was the first. Well, it's funny because now, because 3 years ago, and I'd be like,
it's the Disney Aurora costume all over again. I did it first.
Which one?
I was gonna say it's the Disney Aurora costume all over again.
I don't know her. No, but that show, it was annoying to me because I was like, nobody is talking about the show, and then everyone was talking about it. Now everyone's like, oh my God, Chris, you remind me of David. I'm like, do I though? And everyone was like messaging me during the Emmys, like, did you see Schitt's Creek won everything? I'm like, yes, I get it. And now everybody watches the show. It's not fun for me anymore. I still like it. It's a good show. I'm just like, okay, I get it. You all watch it now. And my friend was like texting me, asking me questions as she's watching. Like, are David and Alexis and Ted gonna get together? I'm like, just watch the fucking show.
Yeah. And then you have the three of us. You have me as Moira, you as David, and Eric as Alexis.
Well, this hat is very Alexis.
Oh, that hat is tragically Alexis.
Wait, Tom, while we have you here, actually. Oh, wait. Okay. I will say this. I'll make a Twitch account and have a viewing party if I'm legally allowed to do it with you, Eric, and Alan, and I doing commentary, watching the movie, and that's the only way I will watch Hocus Pocus.
Alan, you've been put to task. I know Eric's on board without him consenting to it, but he's on board for it.
Yeah,
we actually have talked about doing this, and I think that is the best way for Chris to
I think that's the best way for Chris to enjoy
especially because it's been so. I mean, again, I like Hocus Pocus. I like it. Okay.
Prefacing, I
think it's overhyped, and I love you, and I love Alan, and I love anybody who represents that movie because it's cute, and I like it.
Yes.
I did not grow up with it. I watched it later in life or whatever, and I thought it was cute. It's a little problematic because it's from the 90s. There's some themes in there that I'm like, whatever. But that's why I think Chris should see it. But I don't think he's going to enjoy it as much as everybody else enjoys it because it's been hyped at this point. So I think it should be an event.
It should definitely, number one, it should definitely be an event because this is Princess Chris we are talking about and everything he does. I think his bowel movements are fucking events.
Oh my God.
With that in mind, that was bad even for me. I'm sorry. Fuck you, Joe.
You're the worst.
No, I'm not. Well, that is true. I always say I'm such a terrible. I don't know how people are friends with me.
Well,
no, I do agree. It should be an event. I do agree that there should be some color commentary, but I also feel that Chris is going to be the type of person that just, he will enjoy it for the parts that you're sort of meant to enjoy. Obviously because a lot of people, especially in reviews that I personally have seen, we can talk about The Witches at another time, but in terms of musical interludes and in terms of theatricality, it's middle. I put a spell on you, middle, the end. That's the movie.
Like the old song, I put a spell on you.
I'm gonna hit you so very hard.
No, I really don't know. Is that in the movie?
Yeah, it is. But okay, so Chris, I've been trying to tell him absolutely nothing about this movie because he knows nothing about the movie.
All I know is,
but I agree with you, Tom.
I met Kathy Najimy several times, and it's been fun for me because I'm like, she's in the probably her most popular movie is one I haven't seen, and I don't think I told her that I never saw Hocus Pocus.
Kathy Najimy is an incredibly underrated actress. I remember years ago watching the Kathy and Mo show. Just exquisite actress, like incredibly underutilized and not nearly as overhyped as she should be.
She is a lovely woman. I got to talk to her.
She's such a sweetie.
Can I tell you the story that, and I'm really, to this day, I'm upset that I never got like an email back, but I emailed her because I was talking to her at another famous actress's house that I was working at. I'll tell you guys later because I don't know if she wants people knowing that I know her, but anyway. So the first thing I said to her was like, I just want to tell you, like, your episode of Drag Race where you're like directing the chickens, really fun. And she was like, yeah, I know, like, she's lovely. But then she started talking to me about how she used to date Greg Barnes, the costume designer, who's done some of my favorite costume designs. He did Aladdin on Broadway, and how she helped him get a meeting with Bob Mackie to talk about costumes. And when she was telling me the story, I was like, and I was like, am I considered in this lineup? I literally was like, oh my God, if like Bob Mackie's Cher and Greg Barnes is Madonna, am I Britney? Am I gonna be the Britney? Like, it was literally, like, I literally was like, and that, but I never heard back from her. And
why do we invite him places, Eric?
I don't know. Although, to be fair, if I hadn't gone with him to DragCon, we wouldn't have talked to Kathy Najimy like a real person.
True.
It was really fun.
Fair.
So yeah, try to get her on this vlog and on our podcast, Chris. Can you ask Kathy?
I'll hit up Kathy Najimy.
If
she, no.
Unless she's listening. Kathy, if you're listening,
Kathy,
you're watching right now.
You guys watch the movie Bitches?
Oh, she should watch Hocus Pocus with us. That's what she should do. Anyway.
Okay, do you want me to ask?
You literally just made his tiny little heart grow 3 sizes that day.
Do you want me to ask the actress that I know that knows her to ask her to talk to me?
Julia Roberts. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I don't know Julia Roberts.
You mention her all the time.
I do. Like, Tom, I don't know why there's like something about the name Julia Roberts that like, I don't even like her, but like, I'm just thinking of Julia Roberts.
Her name is Kristen Corradino. Can we just move on from it already?
Okay. Anyway.
So Hocus Pocus.
Yeah,
Tom,
we'll watch eventually.
Actually, I don't know the characters' names. Which of the witches would I be? Would I be Sarah Jessica Parker, Kathy Najimy, or Bette Midler?
Kathy Najimy.
Oh, I'd be Kathy Najimy?
You would be Kathy Najimy.
Okay.
I think you would want to be the Sarah, but oh, you're so pretty.
I truly know nothing about the movie. I only know what they look like.
You would be the Kathy Najimy.
I like literally, and like I purposely keep my.
I am still on board to do a gender bent Hocus Pocus if Eric is.
I'll do it.
I will
I'll do it.
If I liked the movie.
Oh, you'll have no choice but to at least like the one scene that I would want us to recreate.
Okay. The only things I know about the movie are what they look like and that one, Another Glorious Morning, makes me sick.
There's so much good stuff in that movie.
That's all I know. Oh, and I know
it is very quotable. It is a very quotable movie.
I know that too because people on TikTok do that all the time. But I quit TikTok.
It's Disney. How could you not like it? Anyway,
there's Disney. There are Disney movies that I'm like, this is one of the worst.
He said that.
Yeah, and we will save that for next time. So moving on. Should we wrap this up because it's
yes, we should. I just want to double check the
question.
I want to double check the questions. I'm waiting for that cosplay group, and I'll remind y'all that was Karen yelling at us. Julia says, "Oh my God, a legendary stream." My darling Connie says, "I'm a Madonna era baby, but Taylor is young and she is just finding her wings. Give her grace, and she can be an amazing alliance for the community." Brian says, Brain says, every time Chris Colfa mentions Madonna or Disney, take a shot. Which
we would have all been dead in 5 minutes.
I'm all about that. I'm all about that.
I think I mentioned Madonna more than I mentioned Britney in this. That's kind of impressive.
Which I'm tragically disappointed.
You want to talk
tragically disappointed.
We'll talk about it on our podcast.
But we can talk about that on your guys' podcast. If you want to follow me, you can at that Tomcat on all forms of social media. If you would like to follow Chris, you can. Chris, Eric, plug yourselves.
Okay, I'll go first. Okay. So I am Princess Chris Cosplay on Instagram, and I just started a Patreon where I'm going to, for all my projects.
Sell your nudes.
Was that?
Sell your nudes.
Yeah, no, I'm not selling nudes. Nobody wants to see me naked. Send a heart if you want to see me naked. But anyway, what the Patreon's going to be is, because before I was talking about how I went to college for costume design and this is like what I do. The Patreon, right now it's really cheap. Like the highest tier is literally $7 a month. And that's like the one I don't care about as much. But the $3 one is what I'm most passionate about, where you get to help me decide what's the next project. And then you get to see from reference to inspiration to sketch to all the completion. And then you get to see everything before everyone on Instagram does.
Yep, look for that, everybody.
Yes.
Save your money.
And my name is Eric. I'm BrooklynLink on Instagram and and on Facebook. I don't use Facebook much anymore, but thank you everybody who's joined too. I know a lot of our friends have joined, and thank you so much for listening to us today. And I love you. I miss you all. I can't wait for this stupid pandemic to be over so that we can all see each other.
Speaking of pandemic, get out and vote. Get out and rock that vote. VOTE, vote. I don't care how many times I've said it. I don't care how many times Eric has said it. I don't care how many times Chris wants you all to motorboat him. Vote. Vote, 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 vote. Just vote. Vote early. Vote often. Vote local.
Because I don't want to hear you complaining the next 4 years. Because you have no, like, unless you're under 18, then I get that. But, like, you know.
That part.
Or if you can't legally vote in the U.S. But others, like, you know.
And on that note, chow me out for now, guys, and I'll see you next week.